First, want to thank all you guys making it over here, and we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the Wise family and the DuPont family. And this is a sad day because it's based on something that was tragic that happened at the DuPont plant in Porte, where 4 workers died in an industrial accident. One of those people was Crystle Wise, and as the attorney for their family, for the LeBlancs and for Jasmine, we were able to do 2 things. One is, fortunately, we were able to settle the case without the necessity of a trial and the angst that the family goes back through reliving that. But more importantly, as the lawyers for the family, we were able to do some other things that were important. Certainly there's the compensation issue that occurs in a case of this nature, but that wasn't what was important to the family. It wasn't what was important to Jasmine. It was a recognition of what DuPont had done was wrong. And that was an avoidable incident. It should never occur. Those 4 workers should have been able to go home that day. And they didn't. And so the Wise family has suffered, the LeBlanc's family has suffered, the Tisnado family has suffered, and the Baker family has suffered. And it's our job as lawyers and what we do to help right those wrongs. And not only to try to get families compensation, to get acknowledgments from those that take someone's life, from carelessness, from cutting corners, from doing the things they shouldn't be doing, and prudent practices, where money drives decisions instead of safety. And that's something for everyone to remember every day, particularly in Southeast Texas where so many people work in these industrial environments. But what we were able to do in this case that I felt was important, that the family felt was important, were 2 other things. One was, most importantly, the family wanted Crystle Wise remembered. And she left this earth way too soon with many plans for her future and her new godson or grandson that she wanted to share. She even moved and left her job here for many years to go to Porte so that she could spend more time with her new grandson. And it's a tragedy for everyone concerned that that was taken away. But we're here to look at and celebrate some good things that happened from bad things. And 2 very good things happened in addition to this settlement. Good thing number 1 was we were able to get DuPont to do something that a refinery or chemical plant or big corporation rarely will do as part of a settlement, and that is to recognize the individuals involved, to make public apologies to them, and to create an unprecedented format where every year for the next 10 years at all of the DuPont facilities around the country, there will be a moment of silence. That moment of silence was already recognized this year. That's a very important part of what happens because 2 things. One is those families are remembered and those workers are remembered by all of their co-workers at that plant every year and at every one of their plants, and it most importantly reminds management of what happened and why it happened so that they better remember to avoid it happening to anyone again. And so that decision by the family to make that a condition of the settlement will hopefully make the DuPont facilities across this country safer, make them pay more attention to the things that matter most, which is the protection of their workers, and also remind all companies that do the same types of things, that have workers in hazardous environments, to exercise the same level of caution. In addition to that, it helps the employees that work at these plants remember every year how important safety is and to not deviate from the norms and safety protocols that are in place, and to make sure that the plant adheres to them and that they can speak out and say something. So that was a very magnanimous part of this settlement, and you can't make a company do that at trial. So it takes intense negotiations and avoidance of trial to help drive these factors. This was unprecedented for those of you that are not involved in these types of cases, and we've been doing it for 30 years. You can't make a company do that. All you can do is make them go to trial. But to avoid the trial, in this case, and the embarrassing facts that happened, we were able to do these things. And it makes every plant better, every plant safer, all of Crystle's co-workers safer, and we know that Crystle's happy with that today. That's issue 1. The other one is Crystle was an animal lover, and I never had the pleasure of meeting her, but I've met her family, and just knowing the family tells you a whole lot about the individual that you're there for. And all these pictures that we had in the development of the case, I don't think that we saw a picture when we said we need family pictures, we need things to show about her life and who she was, so that if we go to trial, the jury will get to see who she is. I don't know if there were many pictures that didn't have animals in them. It's like, man, does she like work at an animal shelter? What's the deal? She almost did, because she loved to go to animal shelters, and she loved animals very, very much. And she loved to pick up and adopt the animals that no one else wanted so that she could give them a home. It says a whole lot about her character. And with that, as part of this settlement, and talking about, since Crystle wasn't here to speak for herself, what would she want if she did survive? And she was here to actually tell us what she wanted. And Jasmine and I talked about that. It's like, you know what she would want is to do something for the thing that she loved most other than her family, and that are animals. And so what we did, again, this is something you can't make them do at court, but what we were able to do as a settlement was to get them to do something that, again, these companies normally don't do. And that was to set aside an endowment, and it's a $100,000 cash endowment for the use of Crystle's family to dedicate to the Humane Society, Southeast Texas Humane Society, for the use at their new facility for a walking trail. So everyone in town that has animals and want to go down through the woods and walk their animals, and there'll be a memorial plaque there for her that talks about Crystle, and there'll be Crystle's path. And that will be something that we know she's happy with, we know her family's happy with, and all the other animal lovers in town will be able to use and benefit from the largesse of the family and negotiating that as a part of the settlement. So with that, Mr. Blunt, we thank you for sharing a part of Crystle's life with us, and Jasmine, certainly you're driving this train. That's an enormous responsibility for a young lady to bear on her shoulders, to have to handle litigation on behalf of an estate for the losses of a loved one, particularly when it's your mother. And when you're young and you have the responsibilities of a new little baby to take care of, and your mother's not going to be there like you thought she would be to handle it. This has been an extremely strong and courageous woman who's been able to handle this with very broad shoulders, and I'm extremely impressed with how you've been able to handle all this. I'm extremely proud of you and your family. So with that, I'd like to introduce Jasmine. Anything you'd like to say?
Sure. Well, thank you all for coming. My mom, Crystle, has been taking in animals since she was a little girl. The compassion that she had for the welfare of those that had no voice has always been a big part of her character. Our family is happy to be supporting the Humane Society of Southeast Texas. Something very important to my mother was always, you know, even if it was $20 or she would drop off a bag of dog food, to not just, you know, your large animal organizations, but there's so many other small, you know, private organizations that that she was always supporting. And we've always had adopted animals, you know, the animals that we've just found. So, but I really wanted to take a moment to, you know, thank Brent Kuhn and his office and for the time and help with organizing this. And I look forward to visiting the Humane Society of Southeast Texas and in the future with all of us, the family, and so thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. And with that, if we could get representatives of the Humane Society of Southeast Texas to come up. Amy, do you have delegates? All of you can come up. If you can all come up. Jasmine. The presentation over here where they get in and get pictures of all you lovely ladies together.
He's pretty serious about
I'm
this.
telling you, serious job. That's a big check.
It's a big check.
Don't drop the big check.
Yeah.
All right. Everyone done? All right. You guys have something you want to say?
Well, we very much appreciate this and hope that your mom will be very proud of what we do. You know, we'll talk about, you know, having her walking trail, Crystle's Way or Crystle's Path, and, you know, like Britt said, everybody in the community is going to be able to enjoy it.
Make wise decisions
For Crystle Wise.
And it'll be a great
Memorial.
I'm really looking forward to it.
And when you're ready for a dog, let us know.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You are welcome. It's all hers.
I enjoyed her whole lifetime rescued animals, and she would be very pleased to know that this money will go for some good concerning any animal. It didn't matter what it was. She would spend time, money, and nurse it back to health, and then try to find a good home. Never would she leave any animal stray, no home, injured, that she didn't come to its aid. And along the way, one thing she did, because there's so many other people out there that are just like her, and now they communicate on the internet, and they would come to each other's assistance over and over. And the last big expense, she found one that had gotten hit and his pelvic bone was broke. And she got Rose Police to come help her put it in her truck and bring it to her veterinarian, who, over the years, they had a standing monthly payment because that's how she had to operate. And he was so wonderful about that. But she made so many friends that helped her when she was working shift work. They would babysit, and then she had some that paid for the overnight care at the vet. And it's just amazing how people come to your aid when you're in need. And she told me sometimes, she said, "Mother, I went out helping this girl out in mid-county. Her dog got out of the yard, and she had been chasing it for 2 hours, and she was exhausted. So she saw it over the internet, and she went out there to help her. But that's the way they would do. Animal lovers will help total strangers to come to their rescue to help those animals that are in need. And I always loved her for it, and I told her, I said, thank God there are people like you that will spend their time and effort and money, which lots of times I told her, thank God you had a healthy daughter, because you couldn't afford 2 doctor bills. But she did a wonderful job of helping and assisting in it didn't matter what it was. She loved them all. She loved them all. Cats, dogs, birds that were thrown out of a bird's nest or whatever. And she was going to get a little baby bottle, and she was going to feed it until it got so far, bring it to the vet, give it shots, medicine, whatever needed, and then find a home for it. So I think she would be very pleased today with this act of donating this money for y'all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. The International Chemical Workers Union is physically located in Ohio, where their headquarters are. And Crystle had gone to work with the local union down in Porte. And the president of the union in Ohio sent something to us that he wanted to also read and share with you. The union appreciates the moment of silence to commemorate the lives lost at the DuPont facility in La Porte, Texas. I believe the moment of silence to be appropriate for those who lost their lives in this tragic accident. I also believe that the moment of silence should be used to pray that this type of preventable tragedy should never be allowed to happen again anywhere. Signed, Frank Cyphers, President of the International Chemical Worker Union. So with that, that concludes the things that we wanted to cover today. And again, we thank the family for being able to come today and share the things that you've done behind the scenes to make all of this happen. So with that, we thank the family, particularly you, Jasmine. Thank you.